Okay, hi guys. Welcome to At the Table. Tonight we're going to be having somewhat of a sommelier. We're going to be learning about different wines.
What wines to pair with what you're eating to have proper etiquette, for your man or for your lady.
So basically, the older a wine is, the more prestigious it is.
This I'd say would be pretty clean. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What does dry mean?
Okay, so really easy
When your
way
throat
to...
get dry?
Correct.
My question is, if I want to date, correct? What should I not order with seafood or not order with steak?
Mm-hmm.
What goes with what? So I don't look, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay. What are the do-nots for a dish and wine pairing?
Like for seafood, what's a do not order?
Okay.
Perfect English.
All right, so we're talking about seafood that I'm assuming there's like no cream sauce, right? We're talking just like kind of
Flounder, crab legs, lobster, shrimp, sea bass.
cool. All right, so we're talking straight seafood like that. We want a white, crisp wine like this, okay? And that's because when a dish is kind of light and crisp like that, you want something that's going to be able to, as you were saying, refresh your palate, right, in between, okay? But it's also not going to overpower what you're eating, all right? You want them to be kind of on equal footing. Whereas the steak wine, which I'm happy to jump into if you guys want to do a comparison now, all right? The steak wine is going to be a Cabernet from California, all right?
Okay.
And
Sonoma Valley.
steak, what we're going to do,
That Tuscan?
this is California decoy. This is widely available, this brand. So almost anywhere in the U.S. you can get this guy.
It's aged for how long? Now, is that important for the viewers? Like the age, like the year on the wine? Is it like important to have a certain amount of years?
So
Is it like better the longer it's aged,
I just
the
asked
more
her
it's
that.
better?
Well,
So
No, because it could be like
I just asked that
in the
same
beginning it's better or
I asked her
longer is better.
So it's funny because the answer is it's a matter of taste, all right? Some people like to let their wines hang out for a while, okay? Because over time, the wine's gonna calm down a little bit, all right?
smoother.
Exactly. That's why you always hear the saying, aging like a fine wine, right? Because as it gets older, it gets a little softer, a little more approachable. You always hear about that young guy who was crazy when he was young, but now he's like this content. All right, there you go. But now he's like more content and mellow.
He had to age like fine wine.
Exactly.
I'm saying I'm aging like five.
a little bit
I don't even
He's
age.
still young. He's still
Why
young.
is it that like more American wines, like U.S. wines, their years are always more recent. Like they never have like older years like France and like Portugal.
Ain't
Or,
no
like,
grass in
those
America. It's
other-
hard to grow wine. Shit, hey, child, it's mad land.
So for years, a lot of the California wineries, keep in mind, California is much younger area of growing wine than the rest of the world, right? Or especially Europe, right? Europe's literally been doing it for centuries, if not like millennia, right? So in the US, wine production only started getting more serious in the middle of the last century. Okay, so at the beginning, the wines weren't really designed to age as long. That was the hope eventually, right? But there was no guarantee, all right? And the French wines, Italian wines, stuff like that have all kinds of laws in place. Like legally, they cannot release a wine to the public, some wines, till, 4 or 5 years have passed, okay? So that's why sometimes older vintages are found from Europe, because there has to be a certain aging process. They've had hundreds of years to practice on this, right? And to make it the type of wine that can last a long time. The US wineries, some of them do have wines that you can drink years and years later, but there's not as many. Those are a little bit more in the formative stages, okay? And those wines, also more recent vintages get released because there's a ton of collectors in the US that will scoop up vintages as they come in, all right? So that's part of the reason too, yeah.
That's a very good one.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Right?
So basically, the older a wine is, the more prestigious it is.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you can go too long and have a wine that you're like, this is it's over.
Yeah, it's like aged meat. Like some
overaged it?
like
Right.
some meat in some restaurants, like some top flight restaurants, their meat is aged a minimum of 30 days.
Right.
Like some of their aged prime ribs, but some do 60 days. Some push the limit to it because
Yeah.
it gives the meat like a funky taste. So I guess wine's kind of the same type of thing. It's a taste preference.
Yeah, and also it's the kind of thing where, you know, when you are in the US, you are having wines coming straight from the winery. They don't have to cross any oceans to come here. Whereas when you're getting wines from Spain, Italy, wherever, there's all kinds of laws and taxes and things that have to happen before these wines get on the boat also, right?
Why is the bottle so dark? Is it like to keep the sun out of it for sun damage?
Very frequently, yes, the bottles are meant to be dark.
Guapo.
I
Yes.
know all this. What she said.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't
I
have to
always
worry
see a
about
dark
sun
bottle.
damage.
I don't even think about that. You're
I
like,
always see wine, because remember, like the sun, even in beer, it comes in a green or a brown bottle. I think the sun could affect the taste, correct?
Absolutely. And that's for white wine too, but you know, white wine is meant to be drunk earlier than red. So you do want to protect all wines, right? Oh, let's go in this way. All right.
Ladies,
I actually apologize.
Lauren Hill, right? Lauren Hill.
Because actually,
for
yes.
that.
You recommended this one for me.
Lauren Hill is here
This is
live.
for a steak. This is for you.
This might have to be for me.
Girl, you know you had.
Oh my God.
all right, I'm gonna
Oh,
shake
Nice,
I
Danny.
know I smell good, but stop on camera, nigga. Damn.
it. No, but this is the type of wine that you gotta shake.
Hold
You
on,
gotta
I
be
want a big goofy glass too. I want to feel cool.
I'm not holding it
A
right.
big goofy glass.
Some people hold it like that though.
Is this holding it? Is this holding it improperly or?
We gotta do.
I'm gonna show you guys.
Don't put it on your drink.
Relax.
I would
get it.
normally give. I have to give you a stemless for this one because I'm going to show you guys.
I
How to
smell
hold it.
grapes for sure.
You smell grapes?
For sure, I smell grapes.
Yeah.
I smell grapes
This one
and I
smells-
smell wood. I smell char wood. I'm right or
Why you
wrong?
say that?
This one smells 1,000 times better than the last one.
Is
Okay.
this barrel charred inside?
So when I twirl it
Okay.
like that,
Is it charred inside? No, I'm wrong.
Is it what?
Is this barrel inside charred? I smell like a woody.
Yes.
How old
Yes.
is this?
Thinking of this.
So, all right.
Yeah.
So, right.
Because wait, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
She just schooled me and said that when I twirl this around, when it comes down, this is called legs. That's
correct.
And she said the legs can tell you sometimes how old the wine is or how it's been aged.
Yes. So what the legs do really is the legs tell you how heavy this wine is going to be, essentially.
So a heavy
Yes.
downpour.
Yeah, so the thicker it is, the pieces of them, the more that the legs are significant.
What does that mean as far as the quality of the wine? More legs, less legs?
I have to tell you the truth, it means no difference
see.
whatsoever. There was a big myth for a long time that people said, oh, especially if you watch like a lot of 80s movies, they're always going, oh yes, it has good legs. They'll say something like that. But the truth is,
That whole side joke they said.
it doesn't change the taste of the wine at all or the quality.
And before I sip this,
Yeah.
what should the average person look for in a quality red wine to
Right.
know its quality?
Okay.
Cheers.
Yeah, we can.
Because they already had it already. They already had
She
it.
just wants Mad Dog and tequila.
I don't like this.
Mad Dog and tequila.
And Cisco.
That's cool.
Remember Cisco, the pink bottle? That was a good one.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I had
This is
some
good.
great times
This
off
is a little
that.
smoky.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah.
Everyone on the
Cheers to
Okay, so
Cisco. Them-
cheers.
Like Viagra back in the day, I tell you.
See, this leaves like a dry taste in my mouth.
Yes. Okay, so this is dry.
Yo,
so
she picked some good-ass wine.
what you're looking for, right? Because you had asked, how do we hold the glass, right? And look, my honest
Like
answer
this.
is, when you're hanging out with your friends, do whatever you want. Nobody wants you to be the guy in the corner who's
what
making
Amanda says, you
everyone
gotta
do
hold it like
something a
this.
certain way.
This is not feminine.
But what you do want to do is you want to hold it by the stem,
not tequila.
okay? You want to hold it by the stem, and you want to swirl it like that. And the reason why we hold it by the stem is if you hold it by the bowl or the bulb, it changes the temperature of the
Oh
wine.
my God. And I'm on fire out here. I had this shit turn the tea out.
Even though this feels super more comfortable.
She been whispering to us though. She been whispering like blah, blah, blah.
She a little demon. Her shit gonna start boiling over there. Take tequila, my nigga. That's crazy.
I know this is. I'm sorry, guys.
This is not for you.
not good
Strong
for
enough
me.
for us.
She just so
She don't have a burn
gasoline.
going down.
Gasoline.
She need the gas.
She want gasoline. Aisha, this shit is amazing.
That's what she needs.
She needs some burn.
Oh yeah, she gotta be like,
Danny, how about you?
I'm ready now.
I like it.
I like it.
Okay,
It's so
all right.
smooth. And
Danny
she made a
is
statement
hilarious.
because she seems to be a wine expert herself. Now, the taste that wine gives you, that alcohol, strong taste, is called what? A dirty? It's called dirty? What's it called?
So you were saying that, like, if you see little
hot,
pieces
bro.
in the wine and stuff like that, right?
Right, but no, we were specifically talking
aftertaste.
about Chardonnay, and we were talking about the like
flavor.
aftertaste that Chardonnay gives, and I kind of described that as dirty. This I'd say would be pretty clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
What does dry mean?
Okay, so really easy
When your
way
throat
to
get dry.
correct. You
She
see, you
did not
guys
let you
already
run me
knew.
correct. She's being funny.
You guys don't even need me. You knew all this,
She's trying to
okay?
be funny.
That's how I figured. That's what it was.
But what does it mean? Like, oh, this is
Yeah.
dry wine. I never know what that means.
Yes. So basically, other than
It's
talking,
really dry, Sarah. Like, oh, God, it's so
Right.
dry.
They say this is a wet wine.
You already know what she's on.
She
Give
wants.
her some tequila
Give
now.
her some kerosene.
so dry wine, right? The best way to tell is this a dry wine? I mean, on the first sip, if you feel a dryness in your mouth, it's pretty dry, but an interesting way to kind of test that out is after you take the sip, put your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And if you feel that sort of like vacuum dryness for a second, you've got a dry wine.
Like a
Okay.
Oh, shit.
I feel that.
Come on, vacuum test. Not that kind, Aisha. Just drink the wine.
And it won't be right away. After you put your tongue down, you'll be like, ooh, I really.
I don't want my mouth all dry.
Oh my God.
I got stuff to do tonight.
I don't want to dry either.
Saliva.
She got a point.
She a spitter. I'm gonna say medium. I'm gonna say like a medium dryness, right? Like,
Yeah, it's not really
go.
I
dry.
don't feel what dryness, but am I right on your standards?
Yes, it is a
I'm
medium
smarter than y'all.
dryness. If it were super
Am I right on your
dry,
standards?
you guys wouldn't be like, how do I tell if this is dry? You would know, right? So yeah, definitely.
That's how you know.
Decoy, can you tell us about that kind of wine?
Yes.
That name brand?
So Decoy is from a winery called Duckhorn in California, and they have vineyards in Napa and Sonoma, which are two of the primary wine growing areas in California, are Napa and Sonoma. All right, they're the most popular, they're the most expensive in California, but it's a really perfect area for grapes to grow and make delicious wine. So Decoy is one of their brands, and this wine is made from Cabernet Sauvignon, okay, which is considered like the king of grapes, all right? And the reason you want to have this when you're having steak, okay, because when I'm going to talk about that, I'm going to have you picture what this would be like with fresh seafood, and you're gonna get it, okay? What this wine has is something called tannin, okay? Tannin comes from the skin of grapes. It's these little pieces in grapes, okay? These little phenolic compounds, they call it, right? It's
Phenolic?
nice.
What's
Yeah,
that?
it's a nice snobby word you could say to your friends. You're like, I'm telling the phenolic compounds, you can say, all right? It's just basically little grainy pieces, okay?
Okay.
It's like pulp.
Almost.
Like grape
Yeah.
pulp.
Like a grape
It's-
pulp.
But really
yeah.
small, but smaller,
Really
and not visible
small.
to the eye.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm on a roll.
How do you say this again?
Tannin.
No, the...
Which
what's
one?
The
You're gonna forget. You're gonna forget.
Phenolic.
Phenolic.
She said that.
Phenolic component.
Phenolic component.
It's the finale right now. This is
Phenolic.
the finale.
So basically, all right, so those tannins, right? Tannins are great because that's why after a while, wines age, they get softer, they get better, yada, yada. But higher tannin, higher fat you can eat with it, all right? So steaks have a higher fat content, right? We wish they didn't, but they do. That's why they taste so good, right? And so we want to have a wine that has high tannin in it as well. And Cabernet Sauvignon has higher tannin.
All of
right?
them have it, or just this brand?
Yes, for the majority, yeah, all Cabernets, unless they're being, manipulated some way in the vineyard, Cabernets are going to be a more high tannin wine in
It's a
general.
one word, Cabernet. Is it 2 words or just Cabernet?
So it's Cabernet Sauvignon.
See, that's the part I wanted to learn.
Yes.
So don't say one. Say a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Correct. So
But there's different
Cabernet
Cabernets,
Sauvignon.
right?
There are.
I like
yeah.
Cabernet Sauvignon because that's the best one. But there's
Sauvignon?
other ones that I don't
Yeah.
like.
You don't like other ones.
So-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Sauvignon.
All right. So like Cabernet Franc, not your friend.
I never had Franc.
All right.
Yeah, you
okay.
said that.
I do like that.
I've never had that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that one's cool.
if I don't say Sauvignon, it
Yeah.
won't be high in that stuff.
Not true. Not true. It's just it's the most recognized Cabernet grape out of all the Cabernet grapes.
Oh, so Sauvignon is a grape.
So
we're learning.
it's almost like the last name, right? It's like Cabernet
okay.
Sauvignon, right? And so and usually I have to tell you 95% of the time you say to somebody Cabernet, no one's going to think you're not talking about Cabernet Sauvignon.
So it's a menu in a restaurant that has only like Cabernet, and then it's one for Cabernet Sauvignon also?
Usually not. If it's listed as just Cabernet, they're probably talking about Cabernet Sauvignon. And if it is a different Cabernet, it'll specifically say Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, so on and so forth.